Is it on? Let's see.
Hello?
It's
Looks like
showing. Do
I
you
see it.
you see it
Yeah.
on? Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are.
Exactly. How are you doing today, Jess?
I'm good. I talked about last week going to that conference and here we are. It's like nothing changed, right? Because I'm in the same, well, you don't know it because I got the green screen, but I'm in the same place as I was last week, but a lot of things have happened in between. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny how things, I don't know. How you can have like a regular thing like we talk on Sundays, right? And
Hmm.
then so much different stuff happen in between, but then you end up in exactly the same place the next week. It's just, to me, it's just interesting. But how about you? How's your week been?
Pretty good. Excited for today's topic, just because I, have so much fond memories of our topic today, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that you do as well. So yeah, pretty excited. Just same old, like you said. But I really enjoy these Sundays because it just stimulates more of deeper thinking, awareness, and where do we go from here, and what can we do, to kind of bring more awareness, and so I love it.
Absolutely. And just like I speak in when I do classes, I speak a lot about finding gems. So if you read a book, it doesn't mean the whole book has to be something that speaks to you or works for you or whatever. But if you can find some gems in there, then either those gems in and of themselves are going to be valuable directly,
Hmm.
or it'll spark your brain in different directions, right? That you will then think, oh, that makes me think of this or that or the other thing, or I'm going to go research that. Like I've spoken a few times about the VR, immersive VR and play therapy course that I'm
Hmm.
doing. It's a 10-part series. And I have a new cohort that just recently started. And I was preparing this morning next week's handouts because I like to send them in advance. I give a lot of reading. Um, that doesn't mean everybody has to do every single thing of the reading, but I give a lot of resources. How's that? I give a lot of resources, and that's a shocker, right? And so I was putting one of them into the course, and it sent me on. It had some gems in it, and it sent me on this rabbit hole, like for probably 15 minutes, where I found some amazing resources I'd never seen before, and I was like, okay, great. Save, save, save. Now I have to get back to what I was doing because, but those gems can really be so very valuable.
Hmm.
And that's one of my key hopes for anybody who listens and or watches us to have gems in what we say that then will either directly impact what they're doing in the moment, and in and of itself, and or will be able to give them some of those gems so that their brain then goes in different directions of things to learn, research, understand, incorporate, all of that. So I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that gem aspect too. It's just I usually wake up in the morning as I'm trying to crawl out of bed and sitting there drinking some caffeine or some water, and I was just reading earlier today about just depression and cognitive flexibility, and wondering how that can be applicated to children, and digital interventions and things, and just got my brain sparking in a lot of different directions. So I think some of that even ties into some of the co-play, digital play therapy that we'll be talking about. So yeah, definitely fun to just find random things to read, and you're like, huh, interesting, I better save that or write it down, or expand upon it in my own kind of thinking with it. So it's pretty cool.
And share it with Jessica
Right.
because I want to read it too.
Yeah, exactly.
uh,
Unfortunately for Ashley, she has to be my guinea pig when I'm kind of like explaining things, and oftentimes she's looking at me like, "What in the world are you saying, and why are you saying it to me right now?" And I'm like, "Listen, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's coming."
we need to talk about it
Yeah.
now, right now. um, one of the things that struck me in this conference I was at all week, so for people who weren't listening last week, I went to the AWE conference in Santa Clara, and um, it was it was pretty amazing. Part of what certainly the innovation was amazing, and seeing all the new gadgets and the new ideas and whatnot that's coming at us pretty quickly, that was all fun. And going to the expo and all that, that's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing what everyone else is doing. But what was really amazing to me was I sat in on a roundtable discussion. I was invited to come to it. So happy that I was invited. And it was basically a group of professionals coming together from both medical and even a couple mental health people.
Oh,
There
progress.
were, I know. I think I was one of four in a packed room, standing room only, which is really great. I have a lot of feelings about the fact that I was around so many people, and hoping that I didn't get sick. I feel fine so far, but it can take a while to manifest. So fingers crossed for me, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of mixed feelings about going, but vaccines were required for everybody. I know that doesn't mean you don't get sick. Um, but and then everyone had to wear masks. So hopefully, anyway, packed room, anxiety about that aside, uh, the conversation was amazing, of people saying, look, we need to come together from all of these different disciplines, and we need to really have organized, impactful conversations about the ethics, the standards, um, organizing and creating bodies that can evaluate and vet programs for particular uses. Now that leads to the conversation of who's going to do that.
Right.
Meaning not just who might volunteer or might be willing or whatever, but who is the appropriate person to do that. Kind of like the meeting that we have gone to in, many summers in
Mm-hmm.
England. We've had a somewhat of a not somewhat, we've had a patriarch, right? Through that whole process, who
Mm-hmm.
has decided who is the either the up and coming or the influential, or has something significant to contribute, and therefore they would be invited. Well, unfortunately, he has passed away. Unfortunately, for many, many reasons. And one of them is now there's no patriarch of our group. And now the
Mm-hmm.
question is, who makes those decisions? And it's kind of similar in this, because people have different agendas and different approaches and different viewpoints and perspectives and everything. And so I'm not sure how that ends up getting answered. But I do think it's great to be forming coalitions to say these are some minimum standards we need. These are ethical guidelines that we can propose, and if programs are going to be vetted, they're going to be vetted by these standards. And um, as we move forward, particularly in mental health applications, and this whole conference was on XR. So XR includes not only virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality, but I think I've mentioned before that in a conversation with Dr. Walter Greenleaf, who is probably one of the key patriarchs of using virtual reality in a clinical sense for the last probably 35 years plus. In conversations with him, he also includes other interfaces such as tablets.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many things that fall under the XR category, and I think if as we move forward in all of this, then it's important for us to just keep in mind that those things do need to be discussed, hashed out, and outlined. And at
Mm-hmm.
least there's a starting point, even if you don't agree with what was outlined or what was required or requested or recommended. At least there's a baseline, a place to start
Mm-hmm.
the conversation, and then you can make your own decisions accordingly. But I was really impressed by those conversations, and hoping to be part of them as it all moves forward.
Yeah, hopefully they continue, to move forward. And I love that you said, like, just you need a baseline, right? I mean, look at the medical profession. I mean, there's so many differing opinions. It's like it happens all the time in sports world. It's like someone has a bad injury, they get, an opinion from the team doctor, and then they go to like another consultant, another specialist, their own doctor. It's always one of these things where it's like the more, kind of opinions and obviously respectful that we can be, in terms of trying to come up with like the best possible, balanced thinking with the ethics and, everything behind all of this, I think is what we need, right? And medical profession is always changing. There's always, research being posted every single day on how you can find a million different things on how people, view the brain and how our brain, acts and everything. And the reality of it is, trying to just look at what's properly vetted and look at the individuals behind it, and make sure you've talked about before, but sometimes the people behind some of the research can be pushing a specific agenda, and
Right.
it's just important to not look at anything as, no pun intended with your last name, but set in stone. um, but yeah, I'm glad that you guys are having those conversations.
Yeah, I'll keep everybody updated as we go. If hopefully they took everybody's emails down, and of course we all just returned from the conference, so hopefully an organized letter will be coming out so that these conversations will be continued.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, and then I know we were going to get to our topic at hand, is that you probably can't see it with the whole green screen thing. I don't know, maybe if I put it, yeah, there we go. So this is applied virtual reality in healthcare, case studies and perspectives. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I had it. I had it. I lost it. Uh, this book is huge. It is so heavy. And it's large. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, can't see it. Um, but it's a very large book. It's larger than your average, and there's 342 pages. So many different topics in here. So if people are interested in virtual reality, I strongly recommend picking it up. It just launched while I was at the conference, so it's brand new. It's edited by Greenleaf, Roberts, and Fine,
Mm.
and I was fortunate enough to be there to like sit in the book signing line for it, and it uh, the authors are just such impressive professionals. So
Mm-hmm.
if people are wanting to learn more, I get absolutely nothing from. I'm not trying to pitch the book. I'm saying I appreciate the book very much, and so I'm sharing it
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's there. The chapters are relatively short, and there are many of them, so you're getting a good smattering of all kinds of different directions that this can go in. So, and I would love to tell you where it's available, and I'm not quite sure. So I will look that up. I'll try to look up a link while we're chatting here and put it in the chat.
Sounds
So
good.
that's
Good resource.
yeah, I'm super excited to have it.
Yeah, so I think we were going to talk about, we had a suggestion to talk about co-play and
Absolutely.
digital therapy, and I love it because not only there's so many things that are interacting during that co-play. There's, the awareness of self, the awareness of the relationship between the two that are, doing the co-play, whether it's, therapist and client, or client and family. I've definitely personally have done client and an entire family before, and with digital interventions, and it's fascinating, compared to, I guess more of a traditional model. And I think my favorite thing about co-play or family play and digital interventions and is that it really does, and I say this like even with a traditional model because that works as well, but I feel like there's just something special about the digital thing because I feel it's so immersive and so captivating that it really does kind of take you out of that I'm here as a family to work on our relationship, and puts you more into the actual like gameplay in itself. And I think that just has to do with all of the different, multisensory aspects of it, right? The sounds, the graphics, the movement, if there is movement. It's it's a whole different experience, and it kind of goes back to what we talk about with like virtual reality. It's like until you try it, like you can't really
Hmm.
fully ever understand just how much you really pull yourself out of, oh, I'm in a headset mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep going. I didn't mean to
Oh,
interrupt
okay.
you.
No, 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 no. Yeah. So, I really love that aspect because I've just seen such big dynamic shifts and changes and interactions and things that, you don't necessarily like what, of course, you properly vet, what type of activity and game and, intervention you're going to use, but you're not going to be able to predict the outcome of how they're going to interact. And some of that is really special because it's spontaneous, to kind of see some of that and stuff where you're like, yes, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Or little things that like you eventually reflect on, whether you're just sitting on there by yourself or you're, talking to, consulting, and just one of those things where you're just like, wow, you know what? That's really powerful. I didn't think about that in the moment, but now I'm, really thinking about it even more. And I have a lot of, kind of experiences that some of them, that I can share from a very general, broad perspective, um, on watching some of that happen. And especially very early on in my career doing it too. That was like the trying to explain something that people, when I was before even graduating, my supervisor at the time, was so great because she had no clue what digital was or what to really do with it or anything like that. And she's like, I don't understand anything that you're saying, but I can see the results of and the work that you're doing and how you're, applying it, based on, theoretical, background and, implications and everything, and applying it. And I feel that, it's extremely beneficial. So
Absolutely. And how important that's it goes along with a lot of things that we have said along the way, which is that that openness, the importance of the openness,
mm-hmm.
both to ourselves, to our clients, to society, um, to our supervisees, supervisors, everybody, to say, okay, like that person, your supervisor could have said, no, we're not talking about that. You're not doing that. That's not. But instead, she said, okay, it may not be my thing. I might not know a lot about it, but what I'm listening for is that you have a foundation here. You're not just willy nilly, oh, this is the fun new craze. Let's jump on it.
Mm-hmm.
You are saying, okay, here's something that I think has value. It has value to my clients for sure. How can I decide and evaluate whether or not these programs fit into a therapeutic paradigm?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you presented it, plus the efficacy, really, even though it wasn't a study, but the efficacy in terms of your clients benefiting from it and having improvements and having the family happy with those improvements and all of those pieces. And I think that's such an important piece here. And then when we bridge all of that to co-play, and we're talking about the concepts of playing together, which by definition is what we do in play therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But but the playing together with parents and children, siblings, with grandparents and children, or aunts and uncles, or whoever it is, and then and we can think of that in terms of the same physical space, and then we can also think of it in terms of different physical space. So if for instance, here in the area where I live, there are a lot of parents, particularly fathers, who work in the oil industry and are gone for chunks of time. So working in the oil industry is not one of those jobs that's 9 to 5 or any kind of shift work.
Mm-hmm.
It is, you're gone from home typically. I mean, there are exceptions, but typically it's, you're gone from home at least 2 weeks at a time, if not months at a time. I have one client in particular right now whose father is gone for 3 months at a time, and then is
Mm-hmm.
home for a couple of weeks and then gone for 3 months. So really, we have, and there are a number of industries that work this way. So I'm just speaking to my clinical experience here in the area where I live. And so then if we think that through, basically what happens is that the kids and typically the mom are living a single parent household
Hmm.
life for the majority of the time, and then the other parent comes home for a short period of time, and in a sense, although exciting and can't wait to see you and all that kind of stuff, in a sense it's disruptive
Hmm.
because it's adding another person. It's not like adding a distant Uncle Joe who came for a visit who really doesn't impact how the family works, like the structure of it. It's a person who does have input into the family structure and has potentially different ideas on how things should be done than the mom has, and then that everything is disrupted. So and there are lots of other pieces of that that I could talk about, but that's not completely what we're here to talk about. So I won't go off on that. Just know, there's even more to that whole dynamic, and then it affects the couple, it affects the family, it affects the kids, the kid and parent, like all the different directionals, that we could draw a diagram about. It affects all of that. And some of that is really positive, but we in psychology know that you can have very positive things that are also very stressful.
Hmm.
So um, so they're all that. I encourage those families to co-play from a
Hmm.
distance. So if the in this case a father in the example we're giving is far away, then they can arrange time with the father and the kids to play something together, and then they're laughing, they're connecting, they're talking while they're playing, they're doing all these things that are just so important in that co-play. But I think I think often we just think in global terms of things like co-play. Well, yeah, you play together. Like you don't really think it through that this could be really impactful,
Hmm.
whether you're in the same space or in different space. Think of people who are deployed and they're deployed for
Hmm.
years at a time, and they're now losing that relationship or not even being able to establish it with those kids. This is a really powerful way to do it, that is not only about the play, but then all the aspects that come out of it with communication and learning and the connection and attachment. And I mean, it just goes in a bunch of different directions.
Yeah, it's like one of the points that you brought up, and I was just thinking about some close friends who have um, split families, and the other parent lives in another
Absolutely.
state,
Yes.
and yeah, I'll be talking to them, and they'll say, hey, I'm playing Roblox with my son, or hey, I'm playing Minecraft with my daughter, and I'm just like, that's so cool. I'm so happy that like you do that because it's so huge for them, and of course that they are slightly older or around my age, so like they mostly grew up, and obviously met them through gaming myself, and so it's not a surprise that they would do that. But when you really think about those two interactions, like you're saying, and I'm just thinking and breaking it down, it's like when you have a child who, like, let's say, comes to the dad or comes to the mom, whichever parent was split, or the parent returns home from being far away. It's one thing to say like, look, I've been, to share something you're excited from a child's perspective, like, look, I've been so good at school, like, look at my grades, look at what I'm doing, and the parents like, oh my god, I'm so happy for her, all that kind of stuff, right? Like that's one thing. Let's put that to the side. Now let's talk about them co-playing from a distance and being involved in something together, something that they both understand on a level, are connected, in a virtual aspect, right? Whether it's like an activity that they're doing, a game they're playing. Let's say like the kid is able to play that without that parent that's also there, and then the parent comes or they go and visit that parent that they were playing the game, to be able to say like, look at my progress in the game, and the parent to be able to understand that on the level because they
Yes.
were there playing together, is a whole different experience than just, look, I've been doing so good in school and things like that. Of course the parent's going to be proud, but like when you can have that experience where you share with someone who fully gets it or fully understands it, um, it's like just a side thing. It's like when I remember as a teenager, it's like I would go and tell my mom, oh my gosh, we killed this monster in the game, that on all different kinds of servers that people have been trying to kill for so long, and it we failed for so many days and so many hours, over the last like couple months. And she's like, oh wow, that's cool. And then because she didn't understand it, but then I
Right.
go to my uncle and I'm like, hey, like, because he had got me into the game previously, and I'm like, look, we killed this, and he's just like, oh my god, really? He's like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I can't believe you did that, and it's just like this whole level of excitement, that like you can't explain, like you can't put words behind how good that feels. And for me, that was a teenager. For small children or younger children who can't express their words, even less, through normal, verbal. That's a beautiful experience, for them to be able to connect on that level with the parent through co-play.
Absolutely. Like I had that experience yesterday, not to belabor the point that you just made, but just to emphasize it, is that we were meeting, obviously, and we play Fortnite together. And so um, he gets on, and the first thing he says to me is, "I'm so excited because I'm almost level 100." And I'm like level 8. I stink. Again, I've said this so many times, but I stink at the first person shooter games. So um, but we play and we have fun, and he rescues me and gets my reboot card and all that all the time. So um but I'm all excited for him because I know the game. I've played with him. I know how hard he works. I
Mhm.
know his skills and his level. I know all that stuff. Um and he gets it. So he gets it while we're in the same session, and we have a little party, and our characters are doing a bunch of dances. And um we went from in the next round, we went from 100 to 47 people left in the game, and we were still dancing. So I was like, the storm's going to come pretty soon. We should probably move. Um, so anyway, for people who don't know the game, basically, I'm just saying that we were there so long that we could have been putting ourselves in some danger. So anyway, then a parent comes through, and this is zero negativity about the parent. Okay,
Mhm.
I am not trying to put anything negative about this parent's reaction, because this is common. You just
Mhm.
said it with your mom. Doesn't mean your mom didn't love you. Doesn't mean what was important to you didn't wasn't important to your mom. That's not the implication. It is that if you don't co-play with your kids and play and know what they're playing, then you won't understand it on the same level, and
Mhm.
that's the point. So this mom comes through, and uh the to say something, and my rule is that the parents are not part, that that's a session, the door is closed and whatnot, but she did have to say something important that was about to happen. So she apologized and came in and said, "I'm so sorry, just 1 second," and told him what she needed to, and then was going to leave. And he said, "Guess what, I made level 100." And she's like, "Oh, that's good." And then she left. So but again, the point is not to disparage that reaction whatsoever,
Right.
but to highlight the difference.
Mhm.
And the difference is, I've played with him, I've played the game, I know the work that he has put into this, I know how long it has taken, I know from my own, because I'm struggling to level up, and really, to level up, there are skills you need to have that I don't, which is why I'm still a very low level. uh, but he and I could have a very different experience together about it than that experience he had with his mom. And the reason why is because I've played. So if we just think about the difference in that dynamic, then we can say there really is an amazing amount of value in the co-play,
Mhm.
because that interaction between us is so different. And I really believe that this particular kid is going to remember for a very, very long time that he and I celebrated his 100th
Mhm.
in that way together, and that's going to be really significant. And for parents and for co-parents, like what you were saying, is divorced in different um, areas. In the examples I was giving of two people in two different spaces, how amazing would that same scenario I just said, but have it be a parent, the other parent, the non-present parent, and that non-present parent having that 100th celebration and dancing together with their kid. That would be really, really powerful, as opposed to, "Hey, guess what I did? Yeah, I got 100. Oh yeah, that's cool. How's school?"
Yeah, yeah, no, it really thinks about like that's why I just love digital, and you and I have talked about it, but it provides so many of these like very special opportunities that it lets like take, digital out and let's, travel back. It's like these, like milestones that people would celebrate, historically, like graduation, going into grade school or going into middle school or going into high school, and all these things that you get very excited for as a parent. But those are, few and far between. And sometimes, parents are unable to attend those. We always hear stories of, oh, we had, my dad or my mom was unable to attend my basketball game, in our championship game. And, how that hurts, both the child, but also the parent who couldn't make it, like they had to
Right.
work and they couldn't get out of it, just those things like that. And so digital provides more of those opportunities to celebrate these things that maybe we may look and say, wow, level 100, like I don't know what that means, so it doesn't really have any significance to me, on the outside, right? But if we can play and understand the significance, and for them to have such an exhilarating experience on accomplishing that the same way they would be graduating something, the value of, yeah, of course, graduating school, on a I guess more career level or, milestone developmental level is, higher than achieving level 100 in Fortnite. But let's talk about the very basic part that I always argue that is going to extend your whole life. And that's the idea that you work so hard for something, someone recognizes and fully understands how hard it was to get there, and is equally as excited for you, even if they don't fully understand it themselves. That carries across everything in life, regardless if it's a level 100 in a game, if it's doing well on a work project when you're adult, getting a promotion, like all of that stuff is there. It's very basic, genuine emotion, and we all feel that and experience that. And so I think that, like, that games provide that opportunity that, we can have consistently to share in that joy together.
Mm-hmm. And it can be any level and any age, to be honest, because I will say that when I have accomplished a couple of relatively insignificant things, when you think of other things people accomplish in this, even this particular kid I'm talking about, he and I have um have celebrated the small, like even the small things that I have accomplished, and
Mm-hmm.
that made me feel good.
Exactly.
Now, the purpose of the therapy is not for me to feel that way, but it's a fantastic byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is it highlights, just as human beings, how we feel when we have a connected experience with another,
Mm-hmm.
and that then gets stored in our brains and in our memories in a particular way, that it, and in a positive way, but also that is connected with that other person and that experience, so that when I might achieve something similar, then my brain is going to, find that memory
Mm-hmm.
of that celebration and experience with that other person. And we want to build those. Those are the things, in my opinion, that contribute to resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's not one particular person or one particular situation. It is having this bank, if you will, of these connected positive
Mm-hmm.
experiences that end up equaling us being in having access to this bank of experiences to help us either get ourselves out of a depression or not get into one, or feel positively about something, or manage a difficult situation, or whatever it is. And all of that stuff is resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this all contributes to that. And in a way, as we talk about all the time, that speaks our children's language.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Not in taking them somewhere else to do that, but to meet them where they are, which is,
Mm-hmm.
so much what we talked about. And I also was reminded, as you were talking about Another significant thing that struck me when I was at the conference over the week was, and I imagine over the next few weeks they'll keep popping up, so I'll just keep sharing, because it was a really significant experience. But one of the things that people were talking about, and not particularly about mental health per se, but in general, is there was a surgeon next to me in that roundtable meeting who was talking about, why are we even differentiating this as being something other? It is a tool that is available to us
Hmm.
amongst all the other tools that are available to us. And how many times and how many years, Michael, have we said it's just another tool?
Right.
Thousands, I'm sure,
Exactly.
by this point. And I was like, with this surgeon next to me, I was like, oh, we've been saying that. I didn't say that to him, but in my head, I was like, listen to our ditch, our ditch, our Twitch stream,
Right.
our digital play therapy. We talk about this all the time.
Hmm.
But that idea that it doesn't have to even be thought of with parents and co-play as
Hmm.
other, it's play.
Exactly.
We're playing together, and it just happens to be this platform, but it has those same qualities, and the importance of this connection and attachment building supersedes, in my opinion, what the actual toy or play or platform or whatever medium is.
Yeah, it made me think of as I mentioned before, like tying it into the co-play, but the thing I was mentioning when I was reading earlier about depression and cognitive flexibility. And I really feel, obviously, so the perfect example for someone just to follow along is the idea that someone even just saying you look different, and we can have such cognitive distortions related around that as taking that as negative, like, oh, do I look ugly, do I look bad, like we start going down the rabbit hole. And so the idea behind it is, if we can essentially help them expand that flexibility and apply more logic and reasoning to it, then we can help improve the mood and also help them identify those negative thinking patterns before they fall into it. And I think about co-playing, I think about so many experiences that I had with kids, with parents with kids, where they're just kind of reflecting when the child's playing. And I remember this one where the child was playing and they immediately fell like right off the level, and they were like, I can't do this, there's just a lot of negative self-talk, I suck, I'm not good, I'll never be good, just a lot of things like that. And just kind of sitting there with them in that moment and kind of reflecting myself, and then had experiences with parents doing this as well, but just sharing mine, and the child just jumping back on that horse and being repetitive with it, and like, just, okay, hey, I can restart and go, restart and go, restart and go, and over time we're able to get further and further and then beat it. And there's a lot of inherent things in the games that help you along the way, like oh, hey, you lost, try again, or you fall off and someone brings you back up, or even the old school Mario where like you're trying to run to the end of the level and you jump on the flagpole and you mark your flag on the pole, and like the music is all exciting. Just that experience, like you're saying, if I have one bad experience where I failed, I told myself I wasn't good, but then I had 10 more successful experiences doing it, the next level that I get to and I hit that first fall off the side of the ledge and fail, I've built that resiliency. I've extended my cognitive flexibility to say, hey, I can do this. The whole, you lost or whatever, it doesn't hit me as hard as it did the first level. And so I really feel like, games are like this training way of our own self talk. And the co-play just, makes it even further, right? Like the therapist reflecting, or the experience I was going to share with the parent was the the parent was sitting there and had to do a task for the child on the game. And so they were playing together and the parent couldn't do it fast enough. And the child got really upset. Like, oh my gosh, you made me lose. This is your fault. Like, I can't believe this. And the parent, who was just brilliant, she said, you know, you didn't think that I helped you. You thought that I was going to not be there to help. And, I apologize for that, and we can do this, I'm going to do this. It was such a like life-changing moment, for them, because here the parent was able to understand that this situation we've created is almost flipped. As a child, we're going through so many situations where we have so much expectations and learning, and people want us to do things, and we're not always going to do what people want us to do, right? Like when a parent says, hey, I want you to clean this, and you try your best, and the parent's like, you didn't clean it like I thought you would. Now it's flipped. Now this parent is in a child situation, an environment that they have never played before. They don't know how this game works. They don't even know what this is. There's expectations of the child, who is more of an expert, so to speak, at this activity, just like a parent would be more of an expert at cleaning whatever the child's supposed to clean. And the parent failed. And, for the parent to say, I'm sorry I didn't do it, I'm going to try better. Let's do this. Not only did they experience what the child's feeling, but then it's also like the child gets to also experience the other end, So this is like fascinating dynamic that was just jumping back and forth between the two of them. And it improved their relationship so much through just, a couple sessions of playing that type of game, to really build their, attachment, their communication. And all of that just bounces off into other things too. Social skills, regulating, emotions, feelings, moods, everything, right? And here it was, like you said, just this example of co-playing together, and having so much, tentacles going out to like other aspects of their entire daily life.
I wonder if technically with the Twitch stream, if I screen share, can we show it, or should I would love for us to just quickly show a video. How
Sure. Or
that
you could just link the video. Is it like a video online or?
Yes, and I have it in a PowerPoint slide.
Oh.
So I'm trying to figure out, I'm looking right now to see how I can um how I
Sure.
can manage
I
this,
think we
because it's
can.
really good. Here. Oh, did I find it? I might have found it. I'll give you the link. Yep, I found it.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
You got the link. Okay.
Yeah, I will. I will. You want me to put it in the chat?
Sure, sure. Yeah, go ahead and put it in the chat.
There you go. While you're doing the technicality of that, Play Geek is asking, what are some of your faves in session for family co-play? And I think you mentioned a couple just a few minutes ago. But do you have anything off the top of your head of what you like to play in co-play?
Um, Most of mine are still like older games. Like I still use my Wii U quite a bit. Definitely before the pandemic when we could meet in person.
Mm-hmm.
I've done puppet shows like in VR where the person in the headset is supposed to, they get a prompt and they're supposed to choose
Is that
what they're.
Puppet Fever?
Yes, there you go. I couldn't remember the name, and I've done that with families. So the child, would be in the headset, and I would have it projecting on like a big TV on the wall, so the parents could, like sit there and try and call out what was being done, and then they would swap around. Um, I've also done games where the parent is like trying to guide the child, like, hey, watch out, this is coming on the right, and the child's in the headset. And then they'll swap. It's a fascinating experience to watch the parent, in this case is the father, who put the headset on, and the child was saying, hey, watch out, this is going to come, or hey, you need to do this. And this is a dynamic in which they had a great relationship, but there was still some hesitancy to just kind of express certain things when it came to like schoolwork, just so there was like they could have a relationship, but some of the things were hard to talk about. And so we were just trying to create more of that like natural communication between the two of them that was just very genuine and not forced. And
Mm-hmm.
so this, just putting them through different, games like this in different environments, like we did the puppets, and then we also did this other one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was just kind of like a fighting game, objects coming at them. So I like to do a lot of games where the parent can, essentially be guiding them and vice versa, or also games where they're working together. I've done like a full blown, kind of uh, band session where, with the Wii U, where they each have their own instrument, and like they laugh all the time because they're having such a hard time hitting all the notes with the Wii U. So we
Or
would
even
do,
Guitar Hero.
yeah, exactly. I was just going to mention that one. So I like to do more of the games where they can help each other out, solve something, strategy, or something that they're playing together against, more of like a task against the computer. Nothing that's directly ever against each other. Um, I've only ever done that a few times with co-play, only if I felt that it was necessary. Um, and the child, really wanted it, and I had to like assess in my head, what's the motivation behind this, and even with that, I'll try and do something where we will play against each other, and then I'll say, "Hey, that was a lot of fun. Like, I really think it'd be cool if maybe we could be on the same team." And they're like, "Okay," and then we'll go against the computer. And so I try and like reframe it or guide it that way. Unless I feel that they really need to, you know, have like a 1v1 kind of thing where it's me versus them. I've had that with like Super Smash Brothers before, but
Yes.
that was more of like a over anxious child who felt they needed to dominate everything and win everything. And so I felt like, okay, let's go with this. And like competition and is very big in the middle school with kids, especially young boys. So
And sometimes you start there because that's where they are,
mm-hmm.
but with a
We don't really play
goal
games with
of
our parents.
moving in other directions.
Mm-hmm.
So you may, if a client comes and they're hyper focused on those kinds of things, on that competition, on being best and number one and all that kind of stuff over and over and over again, if you have that, then I think it probably won't go so well if you're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to play this completely cooperative, completely leveled. That's not going to meet them where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start in that place where they are, but with the very intentional goal in your treatment plan that you're moving away from that, but you're going to titrate them away from that, because trying to, when someone's going this direction, you try to have them make a sharp left all of a sudden, then that can be very disorienting. It can affect your connection with each other. It can really have impacts in so many directions that I think it's important for us. And that's kind of fundamental to everything we talk about, is meet the child where they are. That might not be where you're going to stay. And in a lot of cases, it's not, because by default, they're in therapy. There's something there that needs to shift. But it could be that you can also utilize where they are to, like, it may not be the thing that needs to change, but it might be the mechanism that will help the change happen.
Mm-hmm.
So using, their digital tool interest and whatnot. So absolutely love that. And my answer would be, and then I'm going to let you do what you got to do with the video, is
Mm-hmm.
my answer would be that really, whatever it is, the way that things come together, the interest of the kid and the interest of the parent, the skill level, the comfort level, all those kinds of things of the parent. Not that they have to be experts or anything, but if they're super highly anxious about co-playing with their kids, you want to get them to a point where that reduces.
Exactly.
So that they're not bringing that into the interaction in some disruptive way. And these are all very particular words that I'm using, because it doesn't mean they have to be fully comfortable, but if they're uncomfortable in a disruptive way, then you're dealing with that and not what you're there to deal with. So it might be having a meeting with the parent ahead of time and getting them acclimated.
Mm-hmm.
There could be all kinds of ways. Okay, before I'm going to have you meet with your child and myself in doing this, or even the two of you alone, let's at least get you to a different level than where you are at the moment with this. And so for me, it's bringing together those interests along with maybe what I might think might help
Mm-hmm.
in the interaction, and seeing what that mix yields, whether that be a tabletop game, board game, VR, something, an app, something on the computer through Steam, like whatever it is. Honestly, I really don't care what it is on some level, because If they care, that's what matters. And
Hmm.
then it's my job to figure it out and figure out the therapeutic pieces of that if they exist. And if they don't, then maybe we start there and then we go to something else. So there are a lot of different ways that that can be managed, for
Exactly.
sure. So I'm going to stop talking about that so that you can show the video because I know we're getting short on time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I haven't seen this, so I'm
We don't
excited.
really play games with our parents.
Oh, game playing.
Probably maybe once a month.
Video games, I usually am like, no.
I haven't really played anything since the early 90s.
Once a week?
No, Dad. No, no.
Family learning. Let me think. Let me think. When parents and kids get together to share experiences and explore the world together. My name is Sinem Sihan. I'm an associate professor of educational technology and learning sciences at Cal State San Marcos. My gaming skills are average. Sorry, I just want to make sure that I can get some meat out of this cow. My current work is inspired by my experience as a child. Two parents are working long hours. They didn't have enough energy and time to play with me and my brother, and we didn't really get to spend time together. I try to play with my son as much as I can. I value playing games. Yes. So for example, here we're exploring a farm and we're interacting with animals, and my son is learning what sound each animal makes. What does the sheep say? Yes. Engaging in play is important, whether it is digital or non-digital play. We invite parents and kids to play together. We're fortunate to have Alienware provide gaming laptops for our families.
What I find really interesting with Play to Connect, it helps families grow these shared values together. Hey, Sinem, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Did everything show up?
Yes, we have the laptops. They're ready to go.
I believe I am making positive impact through video games. One of the problems that I see is video games are framed as a context of conflict between parents and kids. What I'm trying to do is to show parents and kids that video games could be a context for togetherness, collaboration, problem solving. Hello everyone, welcome to our Play to Connect event. Thank you for coming. We're really excited to have you here.
The light one. Oh my gosh, look, you're stopping the water flow.
All right, we're gonna have parents and kids switch.
Now you need to start capturing the animals in interspace.
Ah, put it in there again. I got it.
No, Dad. You build it on top of that.
All right, let's try to plant seeds and see what happens.
What is happening?
I have a plan.
What are we gonna do?
I have to clean it myself.
We put some lights on. Some more torches.
At home, I'm tutoring her. Now it's the other way around.
A few times I did big mistakes, like flooded our cornfields.
Corn.
Oh, weeds, see?
Did you enjoy the challenges?
Especially the chicken farm we made. Why does it have a skeleton in it?
It's a lot more fun than I thought. It was really interesting watching him at work.
There's just more value here than I think I had imagined, that it could be really good quality time. And I'm surprised at how patient he was with me.
You liked me doing it, and then you were telling me good job. That was cool.
It's really important that we shift the trend around video games and families and really start thinking about video games in terms of their potential to contribute to our lives. Yeah, that's a pig. Where's the pig?
That was great. I loved it. I haven't seen that before, but oh my gosh, what a great video to show the benefits of it. But also, just to show how there's how she was saying that there's benefits to it, if it's done properly and if it's done right. And I think that ties into that balancing and the ethical that you have been talking and preaching about.
I don't want to sound preachy, but yes, absolutely. The pieces that I think it really boils down to whether it's in a therapeutic setting or if it's in a personal home setting or any combo of any of it, I think that it's important to be thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
and to be intentional. And so what are the things that are going, what are the needs in the situation, and what is going to help us help others get those needs met in appropriate ways. And I just love that video because certainly the way they walk you through the pieces of it in the beginning, but then by the end you just see this transformation, not only the transformation of these parents who are like nope, or don't do that, or nope, nope, and then to come to the end and say there's so much more value here than I thought there was, is phenomenal. And it's just really impactful. And that is not because somebody sat there and told them there's value. It's because they experienced it with their own children in those moments to say, wow, we just connected on a whole different level than we have before, and in a different way. And that was amazingly powerful. And that's what I love about that video.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite comments was the parent who said, wow, he was so patient with me, and I didn't anticipate that. And I think that you learn a lot about yourself as a parent in that situation the next time that you're in the situation of I guess power of control, or wanting to convey something, and to remember how much when the child was in control they were very patient, and I think that there's a lot of balance to that, and a lot of self-discovery that comes with that as well for a parent.
And also that your experiences with your child may be different, not always, but may be different than how they function out there in the world. There might be something that's not going well in the interaction between the parent and child that creates these situations that become tense or anger filled or all kinds of things. But I think it's an experience like this that they just showed in that video also gives us the other side, that perhaps your child and you may have something going on between you, but that doesn't mean that that's how your child is out in the rest of the world and the rest of the interactions. That and I think a lot of times as parents, myself included, we don't see that, right? Because we operate in a vacuum. We have our interactions with our kids, and you might say like, wow, I don't really like the way you responded to that situation or whatever. And you might think that that's how they are out in the world. But having these kinds of experiences, like we saw in the video, also lets us see our children's tendencies. I can't believe how patient he was with me. And maybe in other situations, they're not patient with each other. But when it comes to these kinds of things, maybe you see a whole nother side of your child, and those interactions. So I think all of that has amazing and important value.
Absolutely. And thank you for the topic today. Thanks for the suggestion to
yes, that was Play Geek.
Yes, to Play Geek. Thank you. I know Jess is off to do some work, and so am I. So we will see you guys next time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good week.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.